welcome back to the Ambassadors of Gaming Twitch channel. I'm Ambassador
Hey.
Michael, and today we will be doing a little recording talking about the changes in gaming tech with our friend Jake. He wanted to stop
Hey,
by and discuss it. No, go ahead.
hey, what's up, man? Name's Jake. Jake Unity on Twitch and YouTube. I do streams every now and again, and they are somewhat interesting. I mean, I usually do driving games and stuff like that. But is other than that, I just
You
came
chill.
by to
You play games.
yeah,
Talk
play
shit on
games.
Twitter. Post the fancy
Yeah.
the spicy memes.
A lot of shit on Twitter. That too, yes. Jake Unity
Honestly.
also on Twitter. Follow me there. I'm more consistently posting there than I am
True.
streaming.
So anyways, yeah, we were gonna talk about changes in tech, and you and I don't come from too far apart in terms of age and generations. So, the biggest one is that I was born in the weird generation where, by the time like my stupid child brain became functional, and I could actually like do things and think, the PS1 will like just dropped, because I was like 4 or something, 5 maybe.
Okay.
So like,
Alrighty. Around that age, I was probably like, um, I was around that age. I think uh the SNES had come out.
gotcha.
The SNES, the Super Nintendo. Um,
Yeah.
that was my system. The original Nintendo had been out for a while. The NES had been
Yeah,
out for
yeah.
like I think a year and a half or something like that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But it was something that I really played a lot. And then when the SNES came out, I probably played that till it broke.
Yeah. As did many of the people I'm aware of that owned it. That was the first like
Oh man.
real big one, right? Because the NES was like popular, it was big, but SNES was the one that was just like popped off, really, right?
Yeah, that was the one that like stuck. And I mean, I liked the NES mostly because of Duck Hunt.
Yeah.
Um, uh, which was really kind of cool to have a game like that. That was like one of the first games to like. Well, no, it wasn't the first one, but it was one of the ones to kind of really make a use of the little like controller, the pistol controller.
Yeah. The
Um,
light gun, I think, is what it was called, or something.
yeah, yeah, like the brown box, the I don't remember the actual name of it, but like they called it the brown box.
Okay.
Was originally just that. Um,
Okay.
but it was like a random dot on the screen that would come up, and you'd shoot it with a little like air rifle,
Oh
a
yeah.
light air rifle. Yeah, it was the same thing, but it was an air rifle.
That's so strange.
Um,
Yeah, Nintendo's peripherals
like
were always super, super funky, and I'm sure we'll get into it. So I guess we should start. I don't know. I know most people like know this, so we're not gonna go like over the whole history of games, right? Because that's not what we're here to do. That would be a whole
yeah,
2-hour topic of just going through the
that would
history.
be such a long topic. Yeah,
Right.
that
So I think
would
it's
be really really long.
best to start NES, SNES, which is obviously prior to me. And I'm not too familiar with NES, but mostly we just want to talk about tech. So like the big thing with the NES was that it had the cartridges, right? Like it was the one that
Yeah,
kind of popularized the cartridge. Like there was still a thing. Like whatever, Atari used cartridges. And I'm pretty sure Sega did too.
yeah, they did. Until they had the Sega Saturn. The
Yeah.
Sega Master System had the cartridges, but the Sega Saturn, which is another one I've had discs.
Yeah. The Saturn had the disc, and then what the fuck was that add-on thing Mega Drive, right? That was the one that had that they added to the.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was weird. I think it was supposed to be like a memory card. I'm not sure, or some sort, where like you could store something on it or store memory on it or something like that.
I'm thinking of the one that snaps on the side for the Sega.
Oh, on the side.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
no, I'm thinking of
no,
the
this is
little
not the
flap thing in the
Genesis.
back of the Saturn. I'm thinking the Saturn.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Maybe it's the Genesis I'm thinking of. I don't know.
Awesome.
It's been a while since I watched the AVGN video with all the like
Yeah.
stupid peripherals.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I didn't have the Genesis, but I knew a number of people that had them, and usually when they had them, I couldn't get them working right because
uh
I had no idea what I was doing. I was like 7,
yeah, yeah,
or not, it was like 6 or something. But I'm like looking at it like, what even?
yeah. Right. And like I know this is like because the thing is that with each generation of tech, I talk about this like frequently with like my wife and Adam, but like when
Yeah,
you really think about like the amount of information in our stupid monkey brain that we have,
yeah,
that's just like the average person knows. Like the average person knows how to speak, read, write, and do basic arithmetic, which took
mhm.
thousands of years for us to understand. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Like,
so when we
so like
look
applying that
back,
is like,
yeah,
yeah,
when we look back and we're like, oh, the NES is just like some wires on a fucking board. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah, they just
realistically, it's
shoved it
not.
in a box.
But
Yeah.
like, I don't even understand how that shit works. So, you know,
Yeah, like if it you get it to function and then you're good.
more or less.
Like once it works, it's good.
And we all know the basic troubleshooting. Turn it on, turn it off, give it a smack. Hopefully
Yeah,
it works.
not
Like,
working, slap it, blow the cartridge that you're supposed to totally do because it
yeah,
doesn't say on the directions not to do that.
yeah.
Um,
I think you were supposed to use like a Q-tip or something. I think was like the actual instructions. Like you're supposed to like take a Q-tip and like twirl it inside it to get the dust out, but nobody did that.
yeah, yeah. Like,
Probably because our parents would have been pissed that we were throwing like 25 Q-tips a week away.
yeah.
Honestly.
Also, a lot of the reason why, and this is one of the more annoying things, which kind of explains why the slamming thing sometimes worked.
Hmm.
A lot of times you had to make sure the cartridge was in there perfectly.
Yeah, the
If it
connectors
wasn't
weren't
in
great.
there, if it weren't directly lined in properly, then it wouldn't play or it would
Right.
glitch or something. So oftentimes, like slamming it would actually help because then you knock it an angle
Yeah, and it'll just
and
slide right
it'll
back
start
in.
working.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the cartridges. The thing with the cartridges is that a lot of them were at the time probably the best solution, and even like this is gonna be weird, but like we've seen it with Nintendo. The cartridge based thing is so weird because it moved from like cartridges are good to okay, cartridges cannot hold enough information. We have to move to like this disc based thing, which is basically
yeah,
just a hard drive. It's like a better version of a hard drive.
yeah,
And then that just progressed eventually back to SSDs because they were like, they're too slow. They take too long. Fuck it, we'll just
yeah.
make a cartridge again.
Eh, It, oh God, it literally just went back. All you did just go around. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We
no,
just
this
we
didn't
just went in a
go around.
circle.
Yeah,
Like
basically.
that's all SSDs are. They're
Yeah,
just like cartridges. They're just like little sticks of fucking you just put it right in.
yeah,
You're done. And that's a whole ass hard drive is like this big. It's got like 7 fucking discs in it. Runs like shit.
exactly. And it just, yeah,
And like
it
if you told somebody like 30 years ago like, "Hey, we're going to move back to like flat disk. Like the floppy disk, we're going to make something like that but better." They'd be like, "That's stupid. We
it
have
would
hard
be.
drives."
I figure it would be an interesting thing because, like, imagine if you made floppy disks, but like not like floppy disks, but like Betamax.
Sure.
I don't know if you those are the like the big like tape
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. The
that
VHSs
has.
type things.
Oh no, not VHS.
Oh, I
It
see, I
looks a
see.
little bit, yeah, or 8 track. That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, it looks
It's
more
the
like an
shape.
8-track. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um. Uh. If you took that and you just stored a bunch of data for a game on it,
Basically.
like if you just made one that holds more memory.
Basically. Tape was like probably our worst fucking thing, honestly.
Oh God, it was horrible. It was absolutely atrocious. Like,
The quality was garbage, the memory was garbage, the longevity was garbage. It's just a bad format.
yeah, like, yeah, and especially when it broke, it was like it was game over.
Yeah,
If anything like that happened to it, it was just game over.
and it was so easy to fuck with because you could just be like, I just like accidentally scratched the tape when it came out, and it's fucked forever. Like,
Well, not even that. Sometimes, like when you went to go put it into like a VHS player or
yeah,
something, you would you'd hit like rewind or something, or it would auto rewind,
yeah,
and if it fucked up, it would just like destroy all the tape,
yep.
and like there it goes. There's your tape. It's gone forever now.
And if you were really unlucky, it would just fuck your VCR too while it was at it. It would just like get
Yeah,
caught in the mechanisms inside, and you just be like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna go spend
my,
$300 on a new goddamn VCR.
and my wedding video's gone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, God, VHS and tape. I know, like, it's funny because, like, we were talking about it being cyclical. So, real quick, as you notice, the only reason tape has come back as in any sort of format is because, like, cassette tapes, like 8-track tapes and stuff, they look cool, but they're useless. Like, the sound is terrible,
Yeah,
all that. So, like, artists and stuff will
yeah,
sell cassette tapes, but they're literally just for you to buy and, like, set on a shelf. You're not actually supposed to
yeah,
use them. They're not like
yeah. It's
vinyls.
for aesthetic. It's only for aesthetic.
And that's why they're cheap. They're like $6 or something like
Yeah,
that. Usually, you can get like a whole pack of them for like $18 or something. You can get like 3 of them,
yeah,
which is usually the price of the
yeah.
album. So
Ba- like yeah, you're basically just making the same amount of money to just sell an aesthetic.
yeah, and I mean for some people, I'm sure that's fine because I'm sure like eventually vinyls die,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
eventually.
Oh yeah, no. If you play them long enough, it starts to scratch at it, and
That's
then
what I
it,
thought.
it eats it alive a little. Like, because the needle, it eventually does wear down on the
Right.
record.
But I
Same
imagine you
way
have to
that
play it a shit ton for that to actually happen, right?
I was gonna say it's very similar to like how discs are, where like the
Right.
laser will eventually start to eat at it, and it won't quite play the same each time, or it'll start
Right.
to like get scratches and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's kind of one of the things, but because the vinyl kind of like you'd have the needle going over the same spot in some cases, it would start to wear at it and dig at it, and that's when you
Right.
get some of the scratches. Um,
And that's
Especially if
all
somebody like
tech.
bumps something on. Yeah.
I mean, more or
Um,
less. SSDs seem to be a little bit more resilient to that type of stuff, but that's because it's not,
yeah.
there's no moving parts. Like nothing's
Yeah.
moving. So but accessing it over time, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just like every other, like RAM. I don't,
Yeah.
this is probably like an inaccurate version of how to describe RAM, but like when, my parents asked me, like, oh, why do I need to clear the RAM? And I'm like, all right, let me just imagine it's just like a sewer pipe, all right? Eventually, the pipe gets clogged, and you gotta clean that shit. All right, you gotta push all the stuff that got stuck in there. You gotta push it
Mhm.
out. That's basically how
Exactly.
the reason of clearing RAM. All right, if you don't clear the
Yeah.
pipes, your
Basically.
shit's not gonna run right. All right,
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
it's probably
You
totally
gotta clean
inaccurate,
it.
but they understand it if I
Yeah.
describe it that way.
I was gonna
So
say cleaning gutters is another one, but
yeah, cleaning gutters is probably another good one. Um,
um,
I think it's
but
to discuss tech. I think it's probably easier if we go along the lines of like what kind of started in home consoles and moved to previous and then moved to a different line of tech instead of trying to do each
yeah.
generation because it's just like we're gonna end up snowballing anyways into current tech.
Exactly.
So I guess
Exactly.
we went from so cartridges were they were okay,
Yeah.
but until they put in the watch batteries, then they became like amazing. Like once
Yeah.
saves started becoming like a thing.
Yeah.
Because they had the
God, I
codes, but
remember.
they're not really the same as like having a save file, you know?
Yeah, I remember the code thing. That was like you had a certain amount. You had to like write it down, and if you screwed up, you now lost that code,
You were just screwed,
and
yeah.
you'd be screwed. Yeah.
And some of them used to just be like whatever 6 or 8 digits, which is fine. But like
Yeah.
some games, because of the permutations, like the outcomes being so vast, like
Yeah.
they like
Yeah.
went to the
Like
extreme.
yeah, like Mega Man is a big one. Mega
Yeah.
Man was just like that, where it was literally like a box, and you had to have
Yep.
like it was like Minesweeper, where you had the dots that
Yep.
you had to pick that were correct for the code that where you were on, or for the stage that you're on.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find level codes for Mega Man so like people can fucking.
Um, Mega Man 2, I think, had the box. Pretty sure.
Oh, but the first one didn't. Was the first one linear?
The first one, all of them were linear. All
Okay.
the original like first six were linear, but I know that two was the box
Oh, okay.
because I remember recently replaying two.
Yeah, because they have the
Um,
collections and everything now.
yeah, and I'm on Mega Man 4 currently.
Mega Man
I,
4 and 5 took me. I don't even remember if I beat 5. I remember one of them taking me a literal eternity. It
oh
was
God,
horrible.
it was
They're
actually
so
really
hard.
funny. It was really funny. Actually, part of the reason why I got into wanting to do the Mega Man games was because I saw a video from Ego Raptor, somebody I used to watch on Newgrounds all the
Yeah, yeah.
time. One of his favorite games was Mega Man, and he explained um, why Mega Man isn't as hard as most people think it is.
Mm.
Because the game teaches you how to play the game
Yeah, yeah,
as you go along. And when I took that into account and I watched that whole video and I took it and like I kind of like really digested that
yeah.
like that whole notion, like I blew through the first three games. I just tore right through them.
Right, because the
And then when I got to
design
four,
philosophy is pretty
yeah,
straightforward.
it yeah, it's like all you do just like the enemies tell you what to do, how to kill them. Once you learn how to kill them, then you just match the weaknesses to the weaknesses. And then once you get to the boss, all you have to do is get to the boss, hit them twice, and they're dead.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
6 was the one I didn't finish. I'm sorry, but yeah, 4 and
Oh,
5 were ridiculous. Real quick on the codes, it was like because like I said, for the permutations, like there's like Airman defeated, Airman with 4 tanks, Airman, Crashman, Flashman defeated, 1 energy tank, and like each one has a different code, and they're all like A1, B5,
yeah.
C4. Like there's 1, 2,
Yeah.
3,
It's
4, 5, 6, like 8 for 8
yeah.
lines for each code. Like
Yeah. And it was one of those things where it was, I remember like seeing it and it was like, this is literally like Battleship
yeah,
or Minesweeper.
yeah, exactly. It's incredibly complex because they just like had to back in the day they had to code in every like not every possibility because they were like fuck that we're not doing all that, but they do like the
Yeah.
most popular ones, you know what I mean, for the most part.
Yeah.
um
And like I think about it because it's like now you could literally just take a picture of that. You used to not
yeah,
be able to do that. You had to literally write it down.
I guess
Like
if you really wanted to try you could have taken the Polaroid, you know, but if you fucked up with the Polaroid,
far
oh man,
far back ago,
you're
I don't even think he had Polaroids.
no, when was Polaroid was in the 90s, I know for sure,
Like
but I thought it was in the
the
80s too.
disposables, right? The
Yeah,
disposables, right?
the disposable ones where like it just printed out the
Well, you had
pull.
to develop it. You had to go take it to get developed. So it was
Yeah, a
like
lot of them
you'd
did.
have the picture, but yeah.
I'm talking about the instant ones.
Oh, the instant ones? Oh
Yeah, the one
God.
where it was just like boop,
And then it would come out of the thing,
yeah,
and
and
you're
you
sitting
just
there
like
shaking the
you just
yeah.
shake it.
I don't even think. I think it would come out like it'd probably come out with a glare most of the time.
Probably, especially if you had the flash on. Where's
Yeah.
the instant cameras were made from the 70s to 72 to 74. And then the
Okay.
like black
Okay.
ones that I'm familiar with cuz that's what I was used to came out in 87. And then they had the like plastic 90s looking ones.
Okay. Alrighty.
Anyways, but yeah, back in the day, you just honestly like when you played video games back in the day, you just had a notepad and a pen next to you,
Yeah.
like at all
Basically.
times, and hoped your mom didn't throw it away when she was cleaning up. Like,
Yeah. Basically, you'd like have a corner for like all of them, all of your codes,
yeah.
or
And
put them
then
under your mattress.
the worst was if you like accidentally ripped out a page. Like you weren't thinking about it. You're just like, I'll just rip out a page and I'll write the code or whatever. I don't got time to flip open this book right now to find the actual page.
Yeah.
And then your mom would be like, "Oh, I threw away that loose piece of paper," and you're like, "Fuck." God damn it.
it.
All right, here we go again.
Didn't say it out loud, but yeah.
Time for my 70-second run of Mega Man 3.
Here we go, all the way to the beginning.
Jesus. What was?
Uh,
Oh, we were talking about saves. Okay, yeah. So the watch saves were like the
yeah.
most mind blowing shit to me, and even like when I was a kid, and like because the first game my brain can remember playing is Pokemon Blue. That's the first one like my child brain can recall. Cuz I got it for Christmas or whatever. And I got it like
Yeah.
late. I got it like because I think it came out in the U.S. in like '98 or something. So I think I got it like much later. Because I had it
Okay.
on the Mini
Oh, the Mini?
or Game Boy
The
Pocket. I think the yellow one, the black and white
Yeah,
yellow one.
Pocket.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
had it on the
yeah, yeah.
Pocket.
I like the Pocket.
Uh,
I like the Pocket. That was a good one.
it was a good one. I had it on the yellow Pocket. Good game. That was like my first like real system. But yeah, I remember like being able to save. I was like, I can save the game. I didn't even know you could do that.
Is that is that legal? Is
I
is is that legal?
You mean I don't have to beat it all at once? That's amazing. Like my child brain
Oh man.
was so
Like
enthused with the idea of saves.
like I I don't have to sit here for 3 days swapping batteries.
Right. I don't have to keep the power on for 4 days and hope my parents don't notice. Cover
As it
you like tape the green light on
Yeah.
your PlayStation so they don't
Yeah.
notice because you broke your
Exactly.
memory card and you didn't want to ask for a new one. The struggles of early gaming.
That was another thing that was really huge was memory cards.
Dude, I remember memory cards because like when your
That was like a
friend
really big step. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
just the anecdote of like there's always that one friend that comes to school, they look disheveled,
Mhm.
like their life is a
Yeah.
disaster. You're like, oh man, what's
Yeah.
going on, Timmy? And he's like, guys, I lost my memory card. And you're like, oh no, we gotta pour one out for the homie. This is a travesty. Not only did he
Course
lose
milk
his
for him.
memory card, his parents are gonna be pissed because it costs like $20 to buy a new one.
Yeah. Oh God, that was another thing that was really huge. Like that's really surreal to think about now. Is that think about how expensive saving your
Yeah,
game
just to
was, or how
save.
expensive memory was then. Like what was it, 2 megabytes or something like that?
Like nothing. I think the biggest ones on PS2 were like 32 megs.
Yeah, they weren't that. I was gonna say they weren't that big. They were really, really small. But it was like $20 for this memory card.
Like an asinine amount, honestly.
It's like, and you think about that now, and you're like, dude, I could use a thumb drive.
Honestly, I could buy a thumb drive and it'll have like 2 gigs, and I pay like $5 at Office Max for it. Like,
Yeah, like literally like 5 times the memory of
Right.
a PlayStation 1 memory card.
and like now you're like, so here's the thing. Probably over not only were memory cards were worse than the watch battery thing, because the watch battery thing,
Yeah.
usually like you could open the cartridge, replace the watch battery, and like you'd be good, right? But with memory cards, once that shit fries, like you're done. Like it's donezo.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta get a new one. So like if you were super privileged, like I was, you know what my parents used to do? Because they hated when
What?
we'd have a meltdown over the fucking memory cards being lost. So we had 2 memory cards. I had a memory card, my brother had one. That's how I was super privileged. And then the first time they died, my parents were like, fuck that, we're buying 2 memory cards. This way you have a backup. And I don't want to hear shit. If you ruin both of these
Look,
memory cards, that's it.
yeah.
You're done. Game over. I'm not buying you shit.
Exactly. Like, oh my God.
And my brother was the one who
Like,
was
oh,
tough
yeah.
on controllers. So thankfully, we didn't break that many
Was
controllers.
he a twister?
Yeah, no, he was a thrower. He was a thrower, and he loved
Hitting
the arm and hammer. He loved to grab it by
Yeah.
this and smash it into the ground like a hammer.
And he liked to tomahawk it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he liked to do that too. Those were his good old moves. I'm glad he learned to control his anger the older he got, because I got real sick of him breaking my controllers.
I had a friend who used to do that when he was younger. Like literally, he would like he used to have a problem, like because he had probably broken like 3 or 4 Xboxes.
Oh my god!
Like
The
that.
Xbox, not even the
Yeah.
controller. The Xbox.
Like the controller, the Xbox, and I think he went through 2 TVs.
No.
Yeah.
Oh god, this
He
man
was
needs help.
bad. He's better now, but
Oh thank God.
he's
He's a danger to
he's been-
himself.
that was like he was really bad about that.
Oh my god.
He was one of those guys that like, oh man,
He was the
he
guy
was
that you
super
didn't want to
cool.
play multiplayer with.
Well, you play multiplayer with him, and he was cool. But it was usually when he played single player or he played
Oh,
online
okay.
that he would just lose it.
Are we talking like early 2007 Rage compilations?
Oh God, like
Like that level?
what was it? What was it?
Like
Modern
blowing
Warfare
out the
2
mic?
game lobbies.
Yeah, like like
Yeah, yeah, like
asininely blowing out his mic on the third day of owning his Xbox. Like,
exactly, exactly. I had another friend who did the same thing where he broke his TV and his fucking Xbox.
oh my
I don't
god.
know what it is with people breaking their Xboxes, but like, oh my God, it was a 360. It
Jesus.
wasn't a brick. It was a
That
360.
still sucks so hard.
Yeah. I want to
Anyways.
say he was playing. He was playing. I remember. I know. Sorry,
No,
another
no, go
story.
ahead.
But I remember coming by. I remembered like I went to his house a lot when I was younger, and there was one time I went by after not being there for a while, and I came by and I was like, "Oh, dude, what happened to your Xbox? And your TV?" And it's I got a little mad during Gears gameplay, and
Oh.
I don't have them anymore.
To
And I'm
be
like,
fair, Gears
"Oh,
also induced rage in many people
I
I
mean,
knew.
to be fair, yeah. But it was like, it's like, yeah, no, well, I got a little mad during the game lobby, and I don't have an Xbox or a TV anymore.
That's a crying
Like,
shame.
I was like, oh, oh,
I'm trying to think back because the
poor
PS2
bastard.
memory cards, the PS1 memory cards were like a thing. The N64 had what the pack, right? The Rumble pack or the add-on pack or some
Yeah,
shit. And
Rumble Pack.
each save was mostly in the cartridge, right? Like they just adapted the
Yes,
Game Boy philosophy and were just like, yeah, it's just in the fucking thing. Like,
yeah, yeah, basically.
okay, okay. Yeah, because CDs, for some reason, we can figure out how to put all of the shit on the CD, but not how to save. Well, apparently, we didn't have
Yeah,
enough room on the CD or the DVD to save for some fucking
yeah.
reason. I still don't understand that. I still don't understand why the CD can't save. There's got to be some design philosophy I'm missing on it. You know what I mean?
I I think they could do that. I honestly think they could do that, but they chose not to use more like for game
For game,
play.
the
Like they probably
gameplay and
would,
movie
yeah,
scenes and
like
all
to
that
put
shit.
more
Yeah.
like modules and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Sounds
it.
about right.
I may be wrong, but I would see that at being a reason for doing that.
Right.
Um, Mostly just so you could just put more content as opposed to like eating all of that with memory.
Right. My thing is that the saves have more or less stayed, I think, proportional to the. I don't know what that was. Sorry. My
Good.
computer just dinged for whatever reason. I'm not even sure.
I didn't even
Um,
hear it.
the the saves memory, as far as I'm aware, is proportional to the memory that we have, more or less. Like I'm pretty sure it's just like I don't know, like 100 megs or something now, maybe 300 megs for a save file. Like if it's
Okay.
really complex or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I was turning on my Xbox to try to actually like find the information, but for some reason 4K capture just broke, so that's
Didn't.
fine.
Oh God. Are we dying? Is it
No,
gonna die?
no, we're good. My computer's good. I'm just gonna let it
Okay.
not respond for infinity until
Okay.
we stop streaming because the second I try to fix that, my whole computer's gonna
It's
die.
gonna
That's what happens every
exactly.
time. Um,
Okay. Yeah. We're just gonna leave that
we're gonna
because
we're
that
gonna
hasn't
move
happened
on.
before at all.
So, anyways, I
Yeah.
remember when we moved to so we had the memory cards. Pretty much everything adapted memory cards at that point from the PS1 era.
Yeah.
Like PS2 had it, GameCube had it, Xbox had it.
Yeah.
PCs
Yeah.
obviously had internal storage, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, and the Game Boy just kept the Game Boy philosophy forever, pretty much until what, like the 3DS, I think.
Yeah. Pretty
I
much.
think the 3DS was the
Um.
first one that was like, yeah, you have to like save onto the system, so you had to like buy an
Yeah.
SD card because Nintendo didn't. First of all, it was an SD card, not a micro, like a full
Yeah.
camera SD card.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually enjoyed that because I think it was easier to get a hold of an SD card than it was to like then again for a micro SD card.
I suppose.
I don't know which one is cheaper.
They're more or less the
They
same at this point.
okay.
Well, when they first came out,
Well,
you
yeah.
know how it is. Micro was super expensive when it first came out, but then
Yeah.
once they figured out that they
But
could just make these little adapters for micro SD to like
for
slide into an
both,
SD
yeah.
card, they stopped
And
making like regular SDs more or less, except for cameras.
yeah, I was gonna say that's the other like pretty good trade-off is that like you can do that with the micro SD where you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
just like slap the adapter in there and just put the micro SD in there.
Right. Well, you can't do it vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like it would be a pain to do it the other way. And
right,
I kind of that's like the one good thing I think that they did there is
right.
they were like, okay, let's just put the full size in there. Push comes to shove, if you got a micro, you get the adapter and throw it
The only thing that sucked though was that like it didn't come with one, and the 3DS like normally like the system comes with some memory, right? So you can just
in. Yeah.
like save some
If you're
shit,
playing, yeah, you don't have to buy extra to save. You
right?
know.
But I'm pretty sure the
Um,
3DS was like you can save like one game maybe, and you couldn't even download any up. Like you didn't. It also had updates, so
you
like
basically
yeah,
you basically could not save.
yeah, you had to buy the
And
SD card.
that was one thing that was like a gripe I had with that, and with the I don't know if PSP still does it or did it, but they did that for a while
Oh,
where
Vita did
like
it even worse. We'll get to Vita.
yeah,
I'll talk about
we'll get
Vita.
to you.
So PSP's
We'll
thing.
get to you, Vita.
Vita Vita is an anomaly in and of itself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, the 3DS was the first one that had the SD cards, that type of memory. And then it still uses cartridges, and even now, so like Nintendo basically was like, all right, yeah, fine, we'll do the disc thing. They did it on the Wii, they did it on the Wii U. PlayStation never moved away from it. They just advanced it to Blu-ray once they helped. I think they helped develop. There's some weird thing where like Sony owns like a certain percentage of the development cost or patent for Blu-ray,
mhm, yeah,
but because it's such like a like unnecessary technology at the moment, like everybody just licenses it from them basically. So Sony makes like a small profit on pretty much every Blu-ray like movie, game, like everything. Like even Xbox
yeah,
has to pay them like a slight amount for like whatever, or it's publishers pretty much that have to pay
yeah.
the like manufacturing
I was,
costs.
yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like that stupid Yamaha meme that was like, I want to get a new motorcycle. Well, here you go. We've got one for you. We want to get a set of speakers for our room.
Right.
Well, we got that too.
More or less.
Well, I also want to get a guitar. Well,
Just
you're in
saying.
luck, buddy.
We have it. Yeah, more or less. That was Sony's like hopeful
Sony
approach.
thing. Yeah.
And I don't remember the complexities with HD DVD, which is the one Microsoft invested in. But the short version is that it wasn't good. It wasn't as good, and it was relatively like the same
Yeah.
price, from what I
And it
recall.
was kind of if I remember, it's like the same quality. It just didn't like take off as well.
Yeah, I can't recall. I think it was either more expensive to make, or it just like I don't know. Let me hold on. Let me look it up because I'm unfamiliar with HD DVD. Because HD DVD died like as I got an Xbox One, and I was like, oh, should I
Yeah.
get this like thing? And then it was like, no, there's no reason for you to do that. Um, HD. Let's see. Toshiba abandoned the format in 2008. HD DVD was dissolved. I'm trying to find some information about it. Sony stated that they had two projects. Yeah, we know about Blu-ray. We already know about that. No. HD DVD promotion was a group of manufacturers. Toshiba, NEC, Sanyo. It just seems like two like inner competing type of formats.
Like the same thing. I was gonna say it's the same thing. They're just kind of like marketing each
Yeah.
other to different. Yeah. Kind of like how Mixer was for Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mike Itchman. Sorry.
Didn't
I mentioned another platform.
well, Mixer was like its own thing that got bought out by Microsoft, right? Or was it launched by Microsoft?
Yeah. I think it was. I think it got launched by Microsoft because I didn't hear about it until the Xbox One
Yeah.
because it had its own share button.
Yeah. It was like something that was like linked in. Let's see. It was originally named Beam. Yeah, it was acquired by Microsoft. Which is so stupid. They bought that and then they just shut it down. They bought it, ran it for like 4. Yeah, they killed it. Basically, they were like, basically what we're doing is we're just merging with Facebook. And I was like, and then everyone's like, no, we don't want that.
That's dumb.
Yeah, Facebook gaming is horrible. We'll get to that in a bit, I'm sure.
It is. Yeah, probably.
Oh but
my
anyways,
God, I still get at.
Yeah, the Facebook gaming is literally the worst thing ever. I want to go into. We'll talk about streaming and content creation. I think probably at the end. I think that's a good end topic considering how it relates directly.
That'd be really good.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
Are you good? All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's finish up with saves. Yeah, when we moved to like the PS3 era, and they were like, yeah, fuck, we don't need memory cards anymore. Don't worry about that shit, boyo. We got you. You got 30 gigs, and we're like 30 fucking gigs. Oh my God, I'll never need to upgrade storage ever in my life. 30 gigs, that's so much in memory. What the fuck am I gonna do with 30 gigs? And they're like, oh, we forgot to mention, we can also update games now, which means we can make changes to them, and you have to download those. And that's basically what the memory is for. I mean, it can save your games, but mostly we did it for that. And everyone's like, "Oh, I didn't even know you could update a game. We just assumed that if you made the game shitty, it was going to be shitty forever. That's cool."
Yeah.
And then shitty games continued to be shitty, even though they updated them. There are the rare exceptions.
Updated literally the thing that nobody gave a shit about.
Yeah, the one thing consumers didn't give a fuck about, but developers were extremely excited about because they could just be like, we could fix this, but that's like 3 more months of dev time. Man, we'll just push out an update later. Fuck it. Like, you know?
Make the Easter eggs look prettier.
Yeah. I remember when the first, like, no, I'll get into it later when we talk about games.
Yeah.
Uncharted for me is a very seminal moment. I'll talk about it later. Yes, and then we moved to like later in that generation where they were like, "Hey, guess what? You can just like download a full game now on your console." And we're like, "What? That's amazing. That sounds great." And they're like, "Yeah, but the games are huge. Like they'll eat up like half your hard drive for like one."
They're actually really massive.
And we're like, "Oh."
But I was gonna say, but you can also get the not sponsored. You can also get an external hard drive specifically for the
Yeah, Xbox was smart. They did that. Sony, it was a harder time from what I recall with the PS3. You could use externals.
Well, I was gonna say around PS4 era, you could do it with you could just plug one in and format it for the Xbox 360, which was awesome. And the Xbox One.
Yeah, I know they moved that way eventually because people were pissy about the upgrade system that they had on the Slim. Because they were like, here, like, we know you want to download games, so here's the Slim, and you can buy this, like, 250 gig hard drive. And I was like, oh my God, that's fucking awesome. That's so much memory. What am I going to do? Do you know how many games I can play?
Update your game. You can do with it.
Skyrim, okay, download. All right. Update, okay. Download, update, all right. This year's Call of Duty, okay, download. Okay, of this year's Call of Duty update, okay, my memory is full.
I think that. Just
all
can
right,
update, can update. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Now,
but PS4 has it too, as far as I know.
Yeah. But I think the PS3, you actually had to swap out the hard drive. Like you had to physically like remove the hard drive and add a new one. I don't think it had external support. I don't think they ever added that. They just came out with new PS3s, like the Slims or whatever. They're like, your old PS3 is probably a piece of shit. Right here, just buy a new one. Like, they released like 4 versions of the PS3.
I didn't know that I had to physically swap them out.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I know a friend of mine has a PS3 that had, the hard drive failure, and he's been wanting to hack one.
Okay.
obviously this person doesn't live in the U.S.
Fair enough.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Joking. But yeah, no. He wanted to like just basically swap out the hard drive, just the computer hard drive, swap it in, like swap the part out, and you know
Yeah.
make it so he could play a bunch of games on it. Kind of not similar to what he didn't do to his Switch, Pepe. But the he essentially what he ended up doing, and this is one thing I think we should probably talk about too, probably near the end, but making emulators out of consoles and stuff like that.
Yes, I do want to talk about those. It's very important.
Yeah, because it's like that's actually like one of those things that's really surreal because you can now like before where you could in a sense is tangentially related to saves, but where you could like you had a cartridge, a massive cartridge for this game that you could spend 3 days maybe getting close to the end to with
Right.
at least only 1,000 deaths. You can now like slap this on a thumb drive and save state the shit out of it and beat it in 10 minutes.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the evolution of emulation is incredible. I do want to talk about it. I'm writing a list so that we can kind of go in order because we have been on the saves for a little bit, but I want to just kind of wrap the save stuff up for now.
Gonna move us through, yeah.
Yeah, with saves, the last one is that now. So I looked it up, by the way. PS3 could use externals, but only for media. It couldn't use it for games. Like you, so yeah, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. You have to like crack open the PS3. At that point, many people were like, "Fuck it," because hard drives were still super expensive, so they just bought the new PS3. Like, fuck it, I'll just buy the new system or whatever. Mine's running like shit anyways, like whatever, you know. And then the 360 actually had the upgradable memory with the Slim. And then when they moved to Xbox One, PS4 era, the big issue that they had is that it's so hard to recall because they made so many changes, both Sony and Xbox, over the course of that generation. That like originally the PS4 could and the Xbox couldn't, or something. I can't remember. They made so many changes with the way like they're because they were like, yes, we'll let like one of them would let us do shit and the other one wouldn't. And it was just like that until like basically like halfway through the generation where like basically they were comparable in the same shit they could do, you know?
Yeah, and that was one of those things that I always found really kind of mildly hilarious, is that they would always swap.
Yeah.
They did that for like 3 eras of consoles, or 3 like generations, three different consoles, where they just like one would do the cool thing, one would do the cool thing, and then the other way they would swap. They would get halfway through, and then they would just both do it, and then they would swap the next time, and then they get to the middle, and then just both do it.
We have a name for this conundrum.
Swap again.
This phenomenon. Are you familiar with the phenomenon Chris refers to this as?
I do not.
No. We used to call it the bucket of poop. You know, like it would swing back and forth, right? But we've since discovered that this isn't accurate. Our hypothesis was incorrect, and it is indeed a pendulum, a circular. Yes, it goes in a circular motion instead of a back and forth motion of poop.
Yeah.
Because before we thought it was just Sony and Microsoft that would indeed get pooped on, but it is also Nintendo that needs to get pooped on. So and PC players as well. So the theory has evolved. Everyone just gets their turn of being shit on, basically.
Yeah.
Because they just, at some point or another, someone will make a shitty decision that's super fucking annoying. But anyways, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off completely. You were saying?
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was literally at the end of my point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess let's finish up. Yeah, so you could, in the PS4 360 area, eventually we got to the point where it was just like, all right, you can use externals. They're basically the same as your internal memory. That's fine, whatever. Who cares? So just like, if you want to buy an external, buy an external. But like, if you don't really want to spend the money on the external, just like manage your games and your files, you know?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I never did that because I'm lazy and annoying. So I like to download all of my multiplayer games onto my internal hard drive, and then I would download all my single player on the external. So and then I would just never
That's actually
delete
really smart.
shit
That's
until I
actually really smart.
beat it or platinumed it. Yeah, and it's because shit does run better on the internal. So like running multiplayer games really came across better on the internal. But now we're at the opposite scenario where like you can only store old games. I assume you haven't had the chance to use a newer system yet because like nobody can fucking buy them basically.
Oh, the newer systems?
Yeah,
No.
the PS5 and the Series X. By the way, in case you don't follow me on Twitter, every week I go through the conundrum of trying to buy a fucking PS5, and it's impossible. It's literally impossible. I've been trying to buy a PS5 every week since November. I can't do it. Never.
If you ever want to see just premium suffering, just
Yeah.
premium
Check my Twitter on Thursdays and
suffering.
Fridays when the PS5s drop, and I miss it again for the 19th week in a row. God, I get so mad every fucking week. And I tell myself every week, nah, I'm cool, I'll just wait. Nah, I'm cool, I'll just wait.
God, you're doing this.
And then I have the like gambling addict mentality. I'm like, oh, but what if? But what if this time I get it? There's a chance. Like, and then I do it and I put myself through all the suffering anyways just for it to get to the cart and be like, yeah, you can't check out. I'm like, all right, well, fuck this then. Anyways.
I was gonna say it's literally the Hades meme.
Yeah.
The like, it's like, okay, click check out. Not available.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine.
That's really how it is. It's super aggravating. But anyways, yeah, I have the Xbox because I got lucky enough to grab one. But I still don't have a PS5. But the short version is that the internal memory on the Xbox is a SSD. The external I have is not an SSD. Also, for some reason, both Sony and Microsoft haven't figured out how to like make regular SSDs work on these systems. All right, we're back.
We are back.
Streamlabs decided it was time to die, so that's good.
Just needed a nap. That's all.
This always happens when I record and when the last couple times we've done this, it's because I opened the what do you call it? Fuck, what's it called? 4K capture. If I run the 4K capture, it just like fucks everything up. Anyways,
yeah,
we're good. The 4K capture's closed. Everything's back to normal. We can get back to what we were doing. I was talking about SSDs on these new systems.
SSDs. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. They're a little pricey, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. SSDs are a little pricey. They're hard to come by. In terms of like being for a normal person. For example, like I'll just go to Amazon. Like an external SSD for like like Samsung pretty much makes the most reliable one.
Yeah.
And it's super fucking pricey. Here's like a SanDisk one, the one most people know. Like a 1 terabyte's $160 on sale. Normally it's $250.
Okay.
So it's just like really fucking pricey. The Samsung ones have gotten a lot better. This one's a portable SSD 1 terabyte and it's $120. But like when I first started looking, they were like $300.
Huh.
Like for like a terabyte. Yeah, and I'm like, why? I'll just buy an internal for that point. Like,
yeah.
So, but anyways,
the only reason why.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the only reason why you'd ever have an internal or the only reason why you'd have the SSD at that point is that like if it's only compatible with that.
Yeah, and it's not compatible with the systems, so like there's no point. Like the PS5 on storage, you're just fucked. That's so irritating to me. You get what the system comes with, which is the 825, and that's before it blocks off all the space. Or that's before it blocks all the space off and whatever. So you get like 670 or something like that. I forget what the exact number is. But you basically get like half a gig. Or half a terabyte, I'm sorry. Not half a gig of like internal. And then you can't even add an external of SSD. And like only certain types of hard drives will somewhat replace, like, because the PS5 is designed in this thing fucking irritates the shit out of me. Because I'm sure the PS5 is like a decently designed system in terms of like, if you play with it in the way that 99% of people will, which is, okay, I bought this thing, I plug it in, I play like 5 fucking games a year or whatever, and like I just cycle through them or whatever. Like, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
It'll be okay.
and a lot of people in like that actually like watch, our content and stuff like that. We're on like the more extreme end where we're like, no, I'm cycling through like 10 games right now. I can't store all 10 of those games on my SSD. At least on the Xbox, and to a lesser extent with the PS5, you can use the external hard drives for PS5, but only to store PS4 games. It'll only run PS4 games. It'll hold PS5 games, but it can't run them. And the same thing with the Xbox. It'll run Xbox One games, but if you update the Xbox One game to the Series X version or the Series S version, it won't run it anymore. You have to put it on the internal.
Yeah. And
which is really irritating.
Probably one of the more irritating things about like modern memory saving.
Right.
Because it's like a lot of times you want to be able to save these games, play them still, especially if they're like older games that aren't like, they're not so old, but like they're essentially Xbox games, and you're like, hey, I want to get the new system so I can play newer games,
right?
But I still want to be able to play my older games. Can we not make this a pain, please?
Right. At least when it comes to PS4, PS4 specifically, on PS5 you can only play PS4 games on the external, and they run like okay, but you don't get any of the advantages that the system gives if you run it off of the external. That the more or less the Series X, from what I have experienced, is more or less the same in terms that like you won't get like increased loading speeds. Like you won't get like it won't run as high as a frame rate or as high of a graphical fidelity. So maybe it'll just run at 1080 instead of 4K or whatever. Which for me is fine, whatever. But like, when you put it on the internal, it really is like it's what gives you the new experience, especially on the Series X, because the Series X has this feature that the PS5 doesn't, which is this thing called Quick Resume. I don't know how familiar with it, but more or less like the system, because of the way it's designed, it can suspend games. Like, when you turn your PS4 off and you turn it back on, how you can just like start the game back up where it was.
Oh yeah, like rest mode.
Yeah. It's basically like that, but it's like it can always run.
Yeah. Okay, so you can actually like shut it off and shut it back on.
Yeah,
It works just.
I can start a Series X game if it's enabled. The feature has to be like enabled by the developer, basically.
Oh, okay.
I can start the game, turn my Xbox completely off, move it to a different room, plug it back in, turn it on, and 9 times out of 10 it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't really know the rhyme or reasons for that. Xbox is very vague about it.
Yeah.
But more or less it works. And then if you're using multiple games, it can work even on old games, like 360 games.
Yeah.
Which is super nice, because like I was playing Arkham City. I was playing... What the fuck was I playing? I was playing something, I don't know. Phoenix, the Ubisoft game. And I think like Tetris or something like that. I was like cycling between those three or whatever. Yeah. And like Quick Resume is like, okay, like I'm like, all right, yeah, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna switch to this, and I just go and I start the fucking game up. And if the Quick Resume actually works, it just loads me right back into where I was in the game, like just right there. I don't have to go through like the booting menu, go to my save file, then load into the game. Like I'm just there where I was already.
Yeah,
which is super fucking cool. The PS5 doesn't have that, but the load times are significantly reduced, so it does help. But it's just not as cool as like being able to just like, even on my game, the 360 games I have on my external, I can do that. Like, it's nice when I can just boot up an old game and I'm just like, boom, I'm in Arkham City. I'm in the middle of flying somewhere. Like, that shit's cool as hell.
I mean, it's kind of like, it would be like if you were playing WoW, and you just dropped it down or something while you're like traveling.
Yeah. It's super nice. Yeah. Like it's a great feature. The PS5 doesn't have it, and to be fair, the Xbox is very, very finicky with it. Like I have no idea when it's running or when it's working. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's not perfect. But it's still.
I was gonna say that can't always be good.
Yeah, it's better to have it than not have it. I don't know if the PS5 is capable of having it, because it seems like they focus more on like individual like performance, whereas like the Xbox was more designed to be overall like a. You know what I mean? For like a bunch of stuff. The PS5 is like, all right, we want like small load times, blah, 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 blah. We'll get into that in a second with the console design. That's like our
Yeah.
second topic. But anyways,
Yeah.
the last thing is that I'm sure you're familiar with this. We cycled back to now with this Series X and the Series S, they have memory cards, SSD memory cards,
All right.
which are it's a great idea. It's just stupid expensive
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they did the shit that I guess I'll get into it in a second, but they did the same shit that Vita did, where it's like, oh, yeah, we could have tried to figure out how to make
Oh.
like a thing, but instead it was much easier to just make it proprietary. So like you have to buy this proprietary designed like Xbox branded
Yeah.
memory card, which is hella expensive. It's like
Yeah.
$200 something for like a 1 terabyte.
Yeah. I was gonna say. Yeah, and I was gonna say, that was one thing that was sort of a pain with PSP for a while, when they had you buying memory sticks.
Yeah, the memory sticks on the
Um,
PSP at least were
like,
like micros, I think though.
yeah, that was the good part about that is that they were basically micros, but like at first it was like you had to get like a memory stick
Yeah.
very specifically, and they made it a little more compatible. Um,
Yeah, but the Vita was like, no, you have to buy the Sony branded one, like this very
yeah,
specific one we made, and it costs like $30 more for each fucking iteration, like each memory
so
stick. It's fucking
and you
stupid.
don't get any more memory. Yeah,
Yeah, it was more
and
expensive
it was
for
like,
less, basically less per cost.
yeah.
It's fucking dumb. So the thing is,
Yeah.
I'm less harsh
Uh,
on Xbox about it than I am on Sony for the Vita because the Vita didn't have anywhere near enough internal memory to justify it, whereas at least the Series X has 1 terabyte of like internal SSD. So like you realistically you can get by with that if you really want to, but like
yeah.
you couldn't with the Vita. Like there was no way. You just couldn't do it. You had to buy
It
the memory
wouldn't let
stick,
you.
just like the 3DS.
Yeah.
Because I think I paid like $50 for my memory stick, and it was like nothing. It's like barely anything. It was absurd.
Like I was gonna say the memory sticks got cheaper. Like probably they got cheaper probably around the time that they made like the Darth Vader one. That they weren't like
Yeah.
super expensive.
And I bought mine
And that was
stupid
the
late,
slim.
like
Yeah, that
basically
was the
after
slim.
it was dead. I bought mine.
Yeah, basically. Honestly, same.
And I was like, this thing's kind of cool, but like the memory thing is fucked. Like,
I always I always had the worst luck with PS. I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
no, you're good.
Um,
I'm done.
um, I was had the worst luck with PSPs because I would always break the fucking screen.
Ah,
Like every time. The first time I sat down and it like wedged weird in my
damn.
back pocket
Oh,
and I like cracked it. Yeah.
damn.
And like I felt it as I sat down on it too. I felt the little and it just like cracked and I was like, "No."
No.
And then I
No.
bought another one and I dropped it and then the screen cracked and I was like, "No."
Damn. That's always super fucking rough.
After
Uh,
that I was done. I was done.
yeah, I bought one Vita and I ended up selling it because I stopped using it. I was like, this thing's fucking. I'm never gonna fucking use this thing. Which is true. I never fucking used the damn thing. So like, whatever, it's fine. Um. Anyways, moving on to oh shit, that's a great image. Hold on. I have the second to last really or no, sorry, not second to last, second topic. We're only on the second topic.
Oh
Um
god.
is just controllers. I feel like this one we can breeze through pretty easily though.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day you had fucking 80 million designs, more or less.
Oh yeah.
With
It was
Atari and
like
Sega and Nintendo, they all had different designs and it was a fucking disaster.
I remember there was one that was like literally I can't remember. I think it was for the Atari that was literally like a number pad
Yeah.
from like a phone and the little disc at the
Dude, that
bottom
thing is
to
the
move.
worst controller I've ever seen in my life. It's
It
the
was
most hideous thing.
so yeah. Like I think I played it was something that was like there was this game I played on the Atari that was very similar to what most people um would recognize as Rampage.
Okay.
uh, where you basically played like this giant and like beast that was just destroying a city.
Okay.
Um,
Some kaiju like
and
thing, basically.
yeah,
Okay.
basically. And I was playing it with that, and it would show like how I think it was King Kong, but it
Oh,
would
okay.
show how to like you had to like type in the numbers to get certain things to happen. It was weird and
Jesus.
it was so annoying, and I could never get it to work right.
Because the buttons were dog shit too, on top of all that.
Exactly.
So like real
Yeah.
quick, so that people can have a visualization. Here's like the number pad on my phone, right? So like this was the number pad of the game, right? And then you had this big ass dial, so it like rotated and you could push it in. And then on the side, like down here, for some reason, there were two buttons.
Yeah,
Like,
that was like your quote unquote LNR buttons
God, it was fucking horrible. It was a
and
horrible
like your
design.
enter key. Yeah.
It's so bad. But then the NES kind of popularized like the generic like square type of. It was more the format, like the plot. You know what I mean? The shoulder buttons, the directional pad, the buttons, and then the start and select.
Well, yeah.
They popularized
Yeah.
like that format more or less, the face of the controller. Like shit,
Yeah,
we
and
even
then
still
like
use that
after that,
now, for the most part. Like,
yeah,
look,
yeah, it's
like
the same idea.
yeah, we basically haven't changed that aspect of controllers in whatever 40 years.
Yeah, in a general sense, yeah.
Because then the the
Um,
SNES had four buttons, right, instead of two.
no, no, no. It had, yeah, it had, no, it
Four
had
face
six, didn't it?
buttons. I mean, X, Y, A, and B, right?
It
Instead of
had,
just A
oh
and
no, no,
B.
no. I'm thinking of, it had a four. I'm thinking of Sega Saturn because the
Ah,
Sega
yeah.
Saturn had six face buttons.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was when it
yeah.
went the arcade route. Yeah.
That's so
Um,
weird.
yeah. I liked it. I honestly really liked that. I liked having them all there like that.
Yeah.
Um, but the uh um the thing that I really remember is that the Sega Saturn had the shoulder buttons, but they barely clicked in. They were so like
Yeah.
it you wouldn't hear it click. You'd barely hear it click. You'd feel like a little thunk, and that was you hitting the button, and it was like, come on. Yes.
What were you saying? Yeah, Sega had six, something like that.
Yeah, the Sega Saturn, yeah, it had six. It had the ABC and XYZ buttons. So it
Ah,
was
okay.
kind of like an arcade controller. Um, um, and it I liked that a lot because it kind of felt really cool to have all of the buttons you were mainly going to be using
On the
like
front.
right there, just like right there. Yeah, because because I played fighting games
Oh
on
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
console, and then like having all the buttons there was like really helpful.
Right.
Um, um,
I don't mind so much like as a concept, but like overall, that's not my preferred
oh yeah,
way of playing a game.
With any other game type, it'd be a massive pain in the
Yeah.
ass.
And that's why they kind of just adapted like controllers to be the way they are now versus like, and then you have your fighting game controllers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they
Some
designed
people, it's
specific
really
ones
funny.
for it.
I was gonna say, yeah, like I remember at one point, and I think they still have them. Street Fighter, when they made Street Fighter the 3D one, there was actually Street Fighter 4, I think. Yeah,
Uh
Street
huh.
Fighter 4. Um, they had the box. You could actually get a controller that was the like box that you
Oh
would
okay.
get from an arcade, or essentially it was like it had the joystick, it had the buttons all laid out the same way that you would
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it in an
yeah.
arcade.
They have those
And
now, but yeah, back in the day they weren't nearly as popular
yeah,
or common.
but
Yeah.
like it, yeah, it was like I remember seeing like a few people that were like doing Street Fighter 4 competitions, and they would have like just the giant box with the joystick and the buttons, and I'm like, wow, like hardcore.
Yeah, that's some like hardcore shit, honestly. But oh, I didn't even notice that. Okay, whatever. Um, yeah, the controller design to third parties is a totally different thing. I would like to do that at some point, but I don't want to go over it too much because it'll extend the conversation. I think a little bit longer than we need to.
Yeah.
Because more or less, like once we hit the next point after the SNES, which is the PlayStation 1
Mhm.
and the N64, like that's when basically the PS1 took from the NES because it was originally I've discussed this a couple of times, but the original design for the PlayStation was it was supposed to be a CD-based Nintendo system. Nintendo specifically like hired Sony to do it, and then Sony, the Nintendo backed out halfway through and were like, nah, cartridges is fine. We'll just go with cartridges. And Sony was salty about it, so they were like, fuck it, then we're just gonna make this into our system. And they launched, and then they launched it and beat the shit out of Nintendo with it.
Basically.
Because they were right, CDs were like at the time they were the best way to move forward.
They were the better,
which we discussed. So, anyways, the PS1 controller wasn't that much different in terms of like the front face from the NES. It more or less had the same thing. It had 2 shoulder buttons, the directional pad, the buttons, which they changed because I guess the reason why everybody else has to do buttons and the way that they do the front facing one is because Nintendo has a patent like on that specific layout. Like you can't. Yeah. Apparently they have a patent on this very specific button layout, like the XYAB thing. Like that. That's why the Xbox one is different.
Yeah.
From the Nintendo one, because it's
that
like
why they added the black and white too.
That I don't know what was up with the black and white. I think it's because they refused to do shoulder buttons. They were like, shoulder buttons are stupid. We only need triggers. What? We've had shoulder buttons for like 5 years at this point. Like at least like the comfy ones that we're used to on modern controllers. But like we've had shoulder buttons since like the 80s. Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
No, shoulder buttons ain't going nowhere, all right? And I'm an adamant hater of the shoulder button. I hate the shoulder button. I think it's a worthless fucking thing. Because especially with modern day games, when you play shooters, your finger should always be on the trigger. But if you have to constantly be moving your finger up to the bumper, it's fucking... Anyways.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over design philosophy on controllers for 45 minutes.
That later.
Yeah. But anyways, so like the PS1, once the DualShock came out, that was pretty much it. Like the DualShock was like this is how you make a controller, pretty much. Yeah. And it's more or less stayed that way for like what now it's almost been 30 years, no?
Yeah, like pretty much.
Like 2 sticks, directional pad, the 4 face buttons, plus and start, triggers, and then buttons. Yeah. Like that was like that was it. Like that's modern. Even now, it's modern design philosophy. Like
like
not much deviates.
I was gonna say, like most people who get like Switches, they don't really use a Joy-Con too much. They usually use the controller, which is basically the same thing. Yeah,
it has more in line with the Xbox similarity because it has the off-center sticks. That's one of the things that people criticize PlayStation for is the centered sticks. I like them personally, but
honestly, same. I prefer that.
It's because I got small hands, so like for me it works better. But whatever.
Well, when I played GT Sport with a controller, it was really convenient to have them centered.
Right.
Because I would have both of the sticks at the bottom because I would tilt it up.
Right.
I don't have my cam on, so you're not seeing my hands right now, but I would have it tilted up. So my thumbs would be on the shoulder buttons.
Gotcha.
And I'd be using the gas and the gas and the brake with my trigger.
Are you one of the people that does this?
No, other way.
Oh, what, you do it this way?
No, it would be like
you hold it upside down.
Now you're just picking on me. No, I was gonna say flip it in towards you a little more.
Oh, okay.
So your thumb would be on the shoulder buttons.
Oh, and you use like that. You would use like
that's my shift.
Oh my.
I'd have my shift on, and then I'd have so I can look around with the palm of my hand, and I can just shift around like that.
It's okay. You want to see my monkey paw play style?
Yeah. Go ahead, show me. Yeah.
This is the master of platforming type way. You know how 3D platformers you constantly have to move, rotate the camera, and jump all at the same time, but you can only do that with 2 of your fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look at this. This is how I play platformers, like this.
The master paw.
I go like this, and the first time Chris saw me do this, he was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you holding it like that?" And I'm like, because I can shoot, aim, jump, and rotate the camera all at the same time. Duh. And he's like, "What if you have to reload?" And I was like, I just go like this." What do you
Just
mean?
move my finger
Like,
over.
yeah, I just move
Yeah.
my finger over. What do you mean? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I still do that sometimes, but I don't do it as frequently. That was like my Destiny type, like
Oh man.
specifically for that game. That's the one I did it in.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh man.
Anyways, to move forward,
That's yeah. To keep going.
Nintendo just hates controller design. Like ever since
I think
the 64, they just hate designing controllers because they've all
I
been
think
ass, basically.
I think they've just been trying really hard to re-innovate the controller.
For no real
Like
reason. I
they
think they're still salty. Sony just made it easy.
Yeah, like legitimately. And I don't blame them, but still, they're really trying too hard.
It's so bad. Like, look at the let's just go over the Nintendo ones because they're the outlier, right? So, like, you
Yeah.
have the 64, which is for some reason got 3 prongs, which is stupid. It has the C stick, which isn't even a camera stick because it could only point in 6 directions. It didn't have 360 radial.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could only turn like on like how we have VR turning now. It's like meh, meh, meh,
Mhm.
like very specific angles, which was terrible.
Yeah.
It had what the did it have a left stick? Yeah, it had a left stick, right?
It had the center stick, it had a
D-pad.
D-pad, it had the C-stick buttons.
Yeah, I forgot
It
about the
wasn't
C
an
stick
actual stick,
buttons. Oh god.
it was just the buttons. Um, I liked it because I felt that it was a good idea. I just feel like it was only niche. It would only work for N64 games.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's
much
the only
designed
thing I hated about it.
specifically for N64 games. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, the C stick was not. Yeah.
A
But
stick, it was buttons.
yeah, and the stick that they
Um,
put on the 64 was fucking garbage. I get that like they put the third prong specifically so you can move your hand because they're like, "Oh, when are you ever going to fucking rotate between
Yeah.
like the D-pad and the stick? Like you'll use one or the other." Like which
Yeah.
in theory makes sense.
That,
But then you're like
for N64 games.
if you're using the stick, then you lose access to the fucking left shoulder button, which is very clearly
Yeah.
why they put that one underneath.
Yeah. The Z, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, for N64 games, it's great. Any other game, it's horrible.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking dumb. It's just like a really, really bad design. And then the GameCube's design is actually pretty good. I like the GameCube's design, honestly.
The GameCube was good. The
Yeah.
GameCube was probably one of the better ones, but that was basically an Xbox controller.
Yeah, they basically were like, all right, we'll just do offset sticks. And then for some reason, they were like, no, we won't do triggers. Instead, we'll have these fake ass bumpers that are like triggers. And then
There's
we'll only
one
have
Z.
one bumper for some
Yeah.
reason.
So you can still play N64 games.
Basically. So we can port over N64 games. And then the C stick was a terrible camera stick because that was the one, I'm sorry, that they kept that weird, like, whatever the fuck this is. What is it? Hexagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. Yeah, hexagon. Or octagon. They kept this weird octagon
Octagon, yeah.
fucking shape instead of a circular one. It's fucking dumb. But like
Yeah,
the feel of it when you held it in your hands was really good. The N64's was just terrible.
Yeah. That's another controller I personally liked using, but not for the extra stuff. It was like
Yeah.
the control stick was good. I didn't like using the C stick. I really hated using the stick.
Here's the thing. I realized why the C
and-
stick was horrible. I think you
Why?
joined me a couple times when I was playing Metroid Prime.
Mhm.
The C stick was horrible because they didn't want to have to design cameras
Yeah.
like in any other games. So like if you try to
Yeah.
play a GameCube game with a modern controller, a modern like 360 turn instead of the very jagged edges that the GameCube controller had, it feels fucking horrid.
Yeah.
It feels awful.
Like, it wasn't even it was annoying because it was technically a camera stick, quote unquote,
yeah.
but it was almost never for the camera.
It was always for like dodge. Like 9 times out of 10 it was for dodge.
Dodging, selecting things,
Yeah.
alternate attacks if you were playing like a fight like Soul Calibur or something.
Yeah. Rotating your character instead of just like
Yeah.
moving forward, like tank controls for some reason. Like they were still using
Yeah.
tank controls on some games in the GameCube era,
Yeah.
which I
Like,
know is gonna like I know Resident Evil 4. I know. Okay, I know. All right, chill.
I hear you.
I hear the screaming. But Resident Evil 4. I know, chill.
I hear the comment section already.
I hear it. I know. All right. Anyways, moving forward, the Wii also has terrible controllers in my opinion. But given that they just decided arbitrarily that fuck you, everything is motion controls now, it's as good as it's gonna get. I think, honestly.
Yeah, and this it was I feel like they executed, or at least they leaned in on it too hard.
They did.
Because I get they were trying to like kind of jump on the whole use your body as a controller thing,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I
It
just
was
feel like they
not
did
designed
execute
well
it
enough. No, the
They
motion
did- they
controls were
did-
not good enough on the Wii
Yeah,
for like the whole console to be designed around it. You know.
yeah. It wasn't like.
And it was like
Ugh.
everything was attached to the Wii mote. That was what made it even worse.
Yeah.
Like the nunchuck, when they finally were like, which I'm pretty sure it didn't even come with, right? Like, didn't you have to buy the nunchuck? Like, it didn't.
Don't know.
I'm pretty sure
don't
it
know, 'cause I
didn't
never
come with it.
bought it myself.
I'm pretty
I've
sure
only
it
known
didn't come
people
with
that
it.
have
I
it.
could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. Which is the camera stick, because they were just like,
Yeah.
fuck camera sticks. Like, apparently Nintendo just like, they hated fucking camera angles. So they were just like, fuck this shit. We're not doing it. And they make it super hard for you to fucking get one. Anyways, the Wii remote, design-wise, it wasn't so bad for what it was designed for. It's just the fucking motion controls suck. The nunchuck sucked. And then they had that like little NES-style controller for the Wii, which also sucked. But whatever.
That was like, I was gonna say that was like the compromise. That, and you could still use the GameCube controller with it. That was like the saving grace.
But that was
that you
only
could
for
still
like GameCube games mostly.
Was it only for GameCube?
Most
games?
Wii games you had to use motion control. Like almost every single. It was like something Nintendo basically mandated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, couldn't you not play? There was Call of Duty for the Wii.
Yeah, which is why Call of Duty stopped basically going on Nintendo systems. Is because Nintendo kept like making these demands, and Activision was like, "Fuck you, we don't even care."
Not even.
The one time I
gonna
agree
say-
with Activision's shitty attitude.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I was gonna say, but like I didn't know that was only motion controls, because I remember when they made the Call of Duty thing, it was like, okay, weird,
Mm-hmm.
but also with only motion controls, like, why? Legit, why?
Because fuck you, dude. The thing that pisses me off the most is that, because this is relevant, because they just announced Skyward Sword, is that Skyward Sword was like solely motion control. You could not play the game without the motion controls on the Wii, and it was
What?
yeah. So to actually play the game, imagine this. You know how many times you swing a sword in a Zelda game? Literally every half a second, you're like, "Meow, meow, 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 meow," like every 3 seconds, you know.
Literally.
So in the Wii version, it's just you jerking off in the living room the whole fucking time you play. You can only play it for an hour before your fucking arm falls off, you know? Because you're like,
Gives you the warning.
like, fucking dumb.
Take a break every 15 minutes. Yeah,
Basically.
I know. I have to.
I have to with your fucking dumbass design. And it's a Zelda game, so you know that shit ain't short. You know it takes forever to beat that fucking thing.
3 main sections of it, obviously.
It's so bad. It's so dumb. And then the Wii condom is the worst offender, honestly. That thing is hideous. Oh my god. Yeah, that's what everybody I knew called it. Because it did kind of just look like a condom, honestly.
Yeah,
it's just a silicone skin that goes over it. It just looks horrible.
It was literally a condom.
Fucking dumb. And then the Wii U is their worst offender, honestly. Holy fuck, is that thing ugly. Oh my god. Did you ever have the displeasure of holding one?
I did not. I did
Oh my
see
god.
them. I often think that the Wii U was supposed to be like just a test of the Switch.
Yeah.
I often think that.
I get the feeling their original plan was just like, all right, let's just do this tablet thing. And then somebody at Nintendo was like, yeah, that's not going to work. Nobody's going to want to buy that. Just make that the controller.
I honestly thought I thought they were like, hey, we haven't seen something that was like a Game Gear for a while. Let's make a Game Gear.
Honestly, it kind of looks like that, though.
It looks like a giant screened Game Gear.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's such a piece of shit, though. It's so ugly.
Oh, it is. It's horrible.
It's so ugly. It's so big. It's so heavy. And
And it was,
Nintendo at the
pointless.
beginning, everything had to be every game had to have some incorporation with the fucking touchpad, the screen.
It was like actually not even a Game Gear because you had it on the screen. It was literally like a giant DS. It's like if you took a DS and
Yeah,
plugged an HDMI into it and took one screen and made it your TV.
basically. Thing was a piece of shit. It was so bad. You know what wasn't bad though? Unironically, the
Yeah.
Wii U Pro Controller is honestly one of the best controllers I've ever used in my whole life. Unironically.
Seriously. I don't think I've ever seen the Wii U Pro Controller.
I'll send it to you. It's fucking ugly. Don't get me wrong, it's ugly. But
Yeah.
unironically, it is.
Functional?
It's functional, and it has the longest battery of any fucking thing I've ever used. Like, I swear that controller lasted me like 2 weeks on one charge. It was like insane.
Jesus. Really?
Yeah, it was insane.
Holy crap.
It was so good. Thing was ugly as hell, but it felt good to use, and it lasted forever. I love that controller, unironically, honestly. But
Okay, yeah, I see it now. Yeah, that's actually pretty fun. That's
it is pretty hideous, ain't
that
it?
I could see how good that is.
You want to know what the worst part is, though? It felt better than the tablet. Like, it felt like you hold the tablet, and the tablet felt like some cheap, shitty Chinese-made thing. But then, like, the controller felt like a legit good controller. Even though, it was $70 fucking dollars, so it better be.
Yeah,
But...
like seriously.
And then the
But
Joy-Cons...
like I did.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was gonna say I remember somebody had this at one point, and I remember being very confused at seeing it. And I was just like, it loaded the other thing up. But yeah, no, I remember seeing this, and I was like, that's very confusing. Like,
Yeah.
why?
I don't know, man. The Wii U is a disaster. Everything about it was a disaster, honestly. At least they made the Switch look pretty. Like, when you look at it, you're like, that looks cool.
It was a really good test run. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it was definitely... Yeah, the Switch is much better. It's definitely springboarded off of the Wii U's failure. The thing I like about the Joy-Cons is they're really cool. They're pretty.
Mhm.
The button layouts are really great. The triggers are ass, though. And the joysticks are trash for pretty much anything that isn't like a dungeon crawler or a Nintendo game. Like, playing a shooter on that thing is impossible. It's fucking just don't even bother trying. It's fucking garbage on the Joy-Cons.
I mean, yeah. Excuse me, sorry.
If you use a Pro controller, you're probably gonna be fine. Like, I have like a third-party one.
I was gonna say that looks a little better, but like
the Joy-Cons
playing
is
a
too
shooter
small.
with that is like
No.
I was gonna say playing a shooter with that would just suck.
It's fucking horrible. That I don't really have any. The thing that I like about the Joy-Cons is that it's cool that they are designed in a specific way that you can use them for 2 players and you only need one set. That was a really great design choice.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. Because like there are times where like especially when the Switch first came out, because I don't think they thought it was going to be as popular as it was. You could bring your Switch to your friend's house. So you'd come to your friend's house, you'd have your Switch, and like whatever you're chilling, you're trying to play, and you're like, "Yo, you want to play a fucking game?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And then you pop off one Joy-Con, and boom, you're playing a game together.
Yeah, and that's one thing I always liked. When I was in college, like that was literally what they did. It was literally like even if you didn't have a TV, you just pop the Joy-Con off and just pop the little TV thing out, let it sit, and then just sit there in the lobby and just play video games.
Right.
Until it's time for class.
It was great. And then if you were like a snob, you know what I mean? Or like you were like, man, maybe I'll meet up with some people, I'll play some Smash, Like you bring your good controller and then you just
Yeah.
keep the Joy-Cons on. You're like, yeah, here you go, guys, and you
Yeah.
give them the fucking Joy-Cons, and you got the Pro Controller, like a real piece
Like,
of
yeah, I
shit.
got my I got the third one. Here you go. I'm ready
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go.
all right, here you go, guys. I got you. You could use the Joy-Cons. I got my Pro Controller. Like, dick. It's a dick move. But
It
anyways,
now.
so the Joy-Cons definitely, in my opinion, the since the SNES era, like the best Nintendo controller, honestly. Like in terms of
Yeah.
like design. But yeah, Nintendo's big problem, I didn't even realize this until you pointed it out, is that basically all Nintendo controllers are just designed with Nintendo games in mind, and just like fuck you
Yeah.
if you play
Yeah.
anybody else's games.
Yeah, basically. It's like you can play all of these games from this console. Great. Super easy. But if you want to play anything else,
It's gonna
it
fucking suck. It's gonna suck
yeah,
ass.
you're gonna have a rough time, buddy. That's why you should be playing Nintendo games.
Right, basically.
Not
I
sponsored.
I want to go over, yeah, exactly. I want to go over PlayStation real quick because I think it'll be super easy. Because basically, there's barely any changes. PS1
Yeah,
has
literally the same.
the NES style controller, then the DualShock, and then
Mhm.
the PS2 they just they added the analog button, which I still don't know what the fuck that does. What does that do?
The analog button?
Yeah, the red light.
Or-
I have no idea what the fuck that does.
Oh, that was because that was for the certain games. I think it was for like early fighting games like Tekken and whatnot. Because and it's really weird to think about now, but it used to just not have the thumbsticks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It used to not have thumbsticks, and it's really weird to think about that, but it didn't have that. But sometimes games would only let you use one or the other.
Oh, okay. So you had to use that
So
to
you had
toggle
to
between.
switch it off. Yeah, you had to either switch it off or switch it on if you wanted to use either one or the other.
Okay.
And that sucked. And then after a
Yeah.
certain time, they made games so you could use both. But
Yeah, fighting games now are usually always the stick and the directional pad for movement,
yeah,
which makes way more sense in my opinion. But whatever, you know.
yeah, yeah. Like I usually like using the D-pad.
The PS2 controller basically is the PS1 controller. What you'll notice the most with the DualShocks is mostly the design of the handles and the way it fits in
Yeah.
your hand. Like those are the biggest changes you'll see.
They just really improved it.
Yeah,
That's all they did.
it just feels better. Each iteration is just better to hold in your hands.
Yeah.
I guess when we get to it, I haven't held the DS5, but we'll get to that when we get to it. The PS3
Yeah.
controller, real quick, the boomerang apparently was legitimately what they wanted to go with, but people hated it so much they just said fuck it, and they literally just like did slight redesigns on the PS2 controller to make the DualShock 3,
Okay.
like and cram all the
Okay.
shit that was in the boomerang in it,
Yeah.
which is super weird. The home button, I like the addition of the home button, but that was something that Microsoft and them came up with at more or less the same time. Same with the Wii. Like they all came up with the idea of the home button at the same time, more or less.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna credit anybody specifically for that. And then Sony again. Here's the problem with Sony. Sony has the opposite problem of Nintendo, where Nintendo's like, here's this gimmick, we're gonna make you use it. Sony's like, here's this gimmick, we're not gonna make you use it. And then everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's stupid. I don't want to use that. And then they don't. Like.
Well, like one thing I like, and my friend actually really likes this too because he has a computer with a busted screen and he has to plug it into
Sure.
like a TV or something.
Yeah.
One thing he loves about the DS4 that I gave him is that it has the mouse pad. So he can like sit on the bed, like have it hooked up to his computer, like Bluetooth hooked up to his computer, and he can just use the mouse pad and he can just do his business on the giant TV screen without
Right.
having to peek over. You know.
Yeah, that's the
you can have
one
a computer
benefit of
sitting
the
at a desk.
touchpad for sure.
Yeah.
Because it more or less became a glorified select button. Like,
Yeah, basically.
honestly, it just became a huge select button, which is sad because I thought it was actually cool and useful. I'll get to the. I think we could get to the PS4 in 1 second, just because there's so many things on that one specifically.
Yeah.
The motion controls on the DS3 were me. The rechargeable battery on the DS3 was horrible.
I didn't know that. I don't know much about DS3. I only
It's
used
bad.
it a few times. I didn't know it had motion controls actually.
Yeah, they called it like 6-axis or something. It's like Sony's patented like tech for it or whatever. Yeah, the DS4 has the same tech in it. It has the motion controls in it, but nobody fucking uses it.
What was it? C-axis or something like that? Yeah. Well, I was gonna say in GT Sport they use it.
Oh,
you
okay.
can use it, and that's why I have the control. I hold that controller the way. That way.
Oh, okay. Because you can use the motion controls. Yeah.
Yeah, and you steer it like an actual car, kind of like you're playing like what's it called? Mario Kart.
Yeah. The thing with Sony is, again, they come up with shit to like justify their bullshit after the fact. Like they don't think about it. They're just like, yeah, all right, we got to do some shit or whatever, right? So like, let's move to because the DS3 and the DS2, there's not much difference between the home button and the rechargeable battery and the motion controls. Not really much to talk about there, in my opinion, but whatever.
Yeah.
Also, the DS3 was the first to do that, I'm pretty sure, because the Wii had removable batteries and the 360 did as well. Sony was the first one that was like, yeah, fuck you, the controller doesn't have a removable battery. Like,
it's
which was very
you
dumb.
Get this controller.
It was very dumb for that time because the batteries they put in the controllers were really bad. Like, that's why it was really bad.
Very quick.
Even worse than the DS4, honestly.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to now, I guess. The DS4, in my opinion, is probably my favorite controller that I've ever used. Same. It feels amazing in my hand. The buttons feel really good. The sticks, when they're new, feel really good. But you have to put a fucking rubber grip on them. You have to like buy the thumb thing, like to go over it. Because if you don't, they'll fucking die like immediately. You get like 3 weeks.
Yeah, they start falling apart, and it's like,
They made them too soft, I think.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make them too comfortable.
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
And they weak.
For like 2 weeks, and then after the second week, they're fucked. Just put a grip on it. Yeah, just put a thing on it. Call it a day.
Save yourself the trouble, yeah.
Honestly.
I like it honestly a lot. The 4 is legitimately my favorite. I literally have played emulators using it. I've used it just in general for other games, like playing just downloaded Xbox games that I have.
Right.
Like when I was using the games for Windows thing. I use it for the I think I used it. I want to say I tried to use it for the PS2 that I didn't mod.
Okay.
Actually, they're pretty cool with that. That I've modded. I tried to like get it to work with the PS2, and I'm pretty confident I could probably get it to work with it. But it's a really good like every controller. It like I feel like that they were trying to like use that for everything.
It just fits well for a lot of things.
Like it's really cool that you can use it as a mouse too.
Right. That probably wasn't their intention, but yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like how with when they made the Series X, where you can basically use your Series X as a computer.
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna get to that in a minute. I was gonna get to that in the emulator section.
Spoiler.
Yeah. Just to move it up a bit, to speed it up. The DualShock 4 has. Let's do it this way. Let's go over features in each thing going forward, and then we'll just do it real quick on them. DualShock 4 has the touchpad, which is great. The share button, which actually did change a lot of shit, honestly. Like after PlayStation put it on, Xbox redesigned their controllers to have one. Nintendo put one in on the Joy-Cons. Like clearly, like this is something that like resonated with the design. Like, oh yeah, we should be able to take screenshots and videos really easily. Like you shouldn't have to open the UI. Yeah. You should just be able to do it.
Especially when like funny shit happens and you're like, oh, that's weird. Screenshot.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something cool happened, like take a video.
The speaker was kind of shit, to be honest. Like the quality of the speaker is kind of bad. And it wasn't used very often, but it was a cool idea.
I think it got used in some games pretty good. Like it didn't get used very often, but when it got used, it was pretty good.
There was some game that you used it to pick up phone calls. I don't remember which one.
Heavy Rain?
Maybe. I don't recall. Honestly.
I was gonna say the F1 games you can use it. But that also uses the headset too. You could plug a headset in.
Yeah.
Use it. That's another really good feature, by the way. Like plugging a headset directly into the controller.
Oh yeah.
Any earphones that you have, any like microphone or whatever, anything with a microphone, it works.
Because I think the DS3 didn't have that, right? And the 360 controller didn't have that. It had like a proprietary one. The 360 did, I think.
Yeah, you had to get like I had an Afterglow one, and it was really bad because if I plugged it in, sometimes it would feedback really horribly.
Well, that's because you bought Afterglow. Afterglow is just bad.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Exactly. I got it because it was cheap.
Yeah, as most people do with Afterglow, honestly.
Pretty much. Um, but it was really cool that you could just plug your headphones right into it. But the F1 games would use it where you could actually like speak to the race engineer and
Oh,
say
cool.
like, "Hey, I'm boxing this lap" or something like that. But also like Horizon used it where like
Yeah.
when the dude is like calling you or like getting a hold of you in your focus, the little thing that you have, it comes through the controller. So it's like I'm in the middle of doing something and he randomly calls you and you're like, "Oh
Right.
shit." Like,
I
"Oh, whoa."
I liked it in Death Stranding as well. Death Stranding used it as well. But the mixing in Death
Oh,
Stranding was
nice.
perfect. Like they obviously mixed it
Yeah.
so that like I
Mhm.
didn't even notice it until I was halfway through the game.
Okay.
Because like I forget what I turned my head or something, right? And I'm like whatever the speakers are on or whatever. And I heard the ringing and it was like do 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 like as I'm getting the phone call or whatever and I was like that's not from the TV. Where the fuck is that coming from? And then I looked down and like the voice is coming out of the thing and I was like holy shit, I didn't even notice. That was the first like immersive experience I had with the controller, honestly, like that.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, and I really like that. I
yeah,
really like that they kind of added to that like level of immersion. I think there were a few times where they didn't quite execute that well, but there's a few games
right.
where like it was like
It was really
pretty
good.
good.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
surprisingly good. The last thing
Yeah.
for me, with the touchpad is cool. It's a good idea, but nobody fucking uses it because it's probably really hard to design for. Because
Okay.
it's a combination of like touch sensitivity and motion controls, which means you have to have like some
Yeah.
familiarity with motion controls and with like touch UI, like mobile developers basically. And because
Well, there was.
most people don't
Go ahead.
design
Go
for
ahead.
mobile, they're not
Yeah.
familiar with designing that way, so it just didn't get
Yeah.
used much.
Yeah. I think the only game I remember that like exclusively used touch controls like as a part of the game was and motion controls was this really dumb arcadey game. It was a bit like House of the Dead kind of.
Oh,
It
okay.
was called Blue Estate.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know.
and it was like one of the first games I remember that I that kind of like that like downloaded from the PS Store. I don't even know if it's still in the store to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
it was really arcadey. And it would you would like use the motion controls to aim and the triggers to shoot and everything. And then when you came to certain parts, it would ask you to like slide one way or the other on
Sure.
the thing. It would like give you the arrow of which way to slide on the touchpad. It was weird, and you could recenter it obviously, if it was like
Right.
starting to drift or anything. But like, it was cool. I just felt like it wasn't. I mean, granted, I didn't play the whole thing. I played the demo,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
it didn't feel very fleshed out.
Yeah, it's probably
um,
one of those shit like mobile game ports or something that got just thrown on the store or something.
I haven't.
It happens quite frequently on PlayStation, honestly. Um,
Fair enough.
to end the DS4, just before we just slightly talk about the PS5, because I can only give feedback based off of what I've heard from people that have it. Um, the motion controls are phenomenal actually in the DS4, but nobody fucking used them, which was a real shame
Yeah,
actually, because it seemed like Sony actually put time and effort to make them actually good this time.
yeah,
But nobody cared, so that's a real shame.
exactly. And that does suck.
Have you ever
I
played
think it's
Until
one of those
Dawn?
things that I have not. I've heard of it and I've watched people play it, but I have not personally played it.
So this is what I'll end on for me with the DS4 is
Hmm.
there's sections in it with the motion controls where it says don't move.
Hmm.
And it's because the reason why it's
Oh,
improved is with the light bar and with the motion controls. It can detect way more at a higher frequency, or basically it can
hmm,
with a higher accuracy. So
hmm,
when it says don't move, what it actually means is don't breathe. Because if you breathe, literally the movement of your breath from moving your controller up and down from your diaphragm moving will get you killed.
will move it.
Like
Yeah,
that literally is. I breathed because I was like, whatever. I'm playing I'm a little freaking out, and I'm like,
yeah,
and I breathed in, and the movement of my chest and my arms being moved from my diaphragm moving
yeah.
activated the thing. Like, and I was like, oh my
Thank God you
god, why are you so sensitive? What the fuck? I
I
was
like that. That's
amazed.
really, really good.
Yeah, it was really, really
Um,
well done.
that reminds me of Welcome to the Game. I don't know if you've seen people play that or if you've played that. It's a really
Mm-mm.
good horror game. well, it's not even really a horror game; it's a thriller game, where you're like this hacker and you're trying to find this thing. You're trying to find a red room.
Okay.
Anyways, um, when you play it on the computer, I think you only can play it on the computer. But when you play it, the game records your mic. It picks up your mic.
Yeah.
So when you're like hiding somewhere, like when you switch off all the lights and everything, and there's like people outside, or there's like a serial killer coming to like come after you,
Sure.
you cannot make any noise. Like you can't speak
Jesus.
or anything. Or it'll pick you like however good your mic is, it'll pick you up.
Right.
Which is like, oh shit.
Yeah, I remember Alien Isolation had a similar feature. It's pretty. I like those types of features. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But to end with the controllers for PlayStation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't realize you
I was
weren't
gonna say
finished.
going on. I was gonna say going on.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say no. I was
Oh,
saying
you're
moving on, like,
move forward. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. My bad.
yeah, like you were going forward.
Yeah. The DS5, I can't speak too much on. I can just tell you what people told me. I think it's a design. The actual design itself is not so bad. In my opinion, what people told me is that while they think the color design, the color palette is really fucking ugly and the design is really fucking ugly, it feels really good to hold. And you kind of just forget about it while you're using it.
Kind of like the Switch controller or the Wii U controller.
Yeah, more or less, where like you forget that it's ugly because it feels so good to hold. I heard the triggers are really, really good. The adaptive triggers with the sensitivity really do change a lot for a lot of people from what they tell me. They think it's the best thing about the DualSense, along with the increased vibration, is really, really good from what they tell me. I haven't heard much else about anything else, but more or less you get the standard packaging with everything else. The sticks, the buttons, everything else is more or less the same as it was on the DS4, which means it's probably fairly decent,
Yeah.
And then there's motion controls in there too, but nobody fucking plays with motion controls, so.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's more or less it on the PlayStation. Xbox is really easy, so the Duke, we discussed earlier, fucking horrible. The Duke is horrible. All right, it's a fucking awful controller, right? It's ugly. The button layout's hideous. The black and white buttons suck. It's a bad controller, right? It's just bad.
That was pretty bad.
The updated Xbox controller wasn't so bad. It wasn't as bad as the original.
That was another one that was really good as an every controller.
Yeah.
Because you could use that with your controller as like a gamepad. The only thing that sucked is that you couldn't just plug it in, But
yeah.
But you could also just put batteries in it,
Right. The updated one
too.
is terrible as well, but not as terrible.
The one? The one controller?
No, the original Xbox controller. The updated one from the Duke is still horrible, but it's not as horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So.
I mean, I kind of enjoy it. But it's like I enjoy the games, and I'm willing to suffer with this controller.
Basically.
I enjoy the games enough to that level that I'm willing to suffer with this controller and be okay with it.
Right.
Than go without, But if I could pull the games off and use a different controller, I would.
Right, exactly. The 360 controller. Oh god. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that's essentially what I did with the DS4 controller. Go ahead.
I do this with everybody. I hear a momentary pause, and I'm like, "Oh, they're done talking." But no, what actually it is you need to breathe. I always do this shit. I do this with my wife all the time. She gets really mad at me.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit I have, so I'm sorry that I keep doing it.
You're fine. This is bad.
The 360 controller, I actually have the Mandela effect for. When I originally picked up an Xbox One controller, I was like, "Oh, this is literally the same as the 360 controller." And then I looked up a photo of the 360 controller, and I was like, "No,
what?
That thing's ugly as hell. There's no way. That can't be right."
That was a prototype, wasn't it?
Yeah, I swear on my life that I thought the 360 controller and the Xbox One controller were the same. They're not. The 360 controller is hideous in comparison. Oh my god.
Oh man.
It is much much than the Xbox controller before it. It's probably the one most people will remember and enjoy, honestly, because it's so familiar. But honestly, when I switch, like when I think about it, like I actually actively think about my experience with it, the Xbox One
Mm.
controller is so much better than that one. That one felt so cheap and
Yeah,
crappy in comparison.
yeah, yeah. Um, I haven't played the one yet. I haven't played on the one controller. Um, but like, it looks really good.
It's better. It's much better.
Compared. Yeah, I was gonna say it looks much better comparatively. Um, just because it looks more comfortable.
I would
To
say
use.
the Xbox One controller for Microsoft is the equivalent of the DualShock. Like it's there, like, okay, we finally got this right,
Yeah,
more or
that's what
less.
it looks like to me.
I liked
And
it
then the
a
Series
lot.
X, I imagine it's the same thing.
Yeah, the Series X is the same controller more or less. It's slightly it's turned more in slightly. It's much, in my opinion, the Series X controller is better, but it's like the difference between the
Mhm.
DualShock 1 and the DualShock 2. Like they're really not that much different in terms of like the actual feel of it.
How it,
But like
yeah.
they took that design philosophy everywhere. Like this is the Xbox this is the Series 2. Hold on, I'll actually
Mhm.
just turn on this fucking light so everybody can fucking actually see shit. Right? All right, look. That's the Series 2, right? It's more or less the same as the standard Xbox Series. This
Mhm.
is the fucking no shit. This is the Elite Series 1. It's more or less the same as the Elite Series 2, more or less the
Yeah.
same as the Xbox One, more or less the same as the Series X. So they more or less got it
Mhm.
right, nailed it down. Um, that's pretty much it. I mean, the Series X controller, like I said, there's not much. It's like the difference between the DS1 and the DS2. Like, there's really not that much difference to fucking talk about with it, because they're
Yeah.
just so similar. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, the Elite. Just to talk about it, because these are like official like controllers. The
Mhm.
Elite Series 2 is probably my favorite controller. I lied when I said the DS4s. But the DS4 is the best controller that you get with a console, in my
Yeah.
opinion. This is the best controller, in my opinion, because
Oh,
it's super durable. It feels great in your hands. I love the paddles. Like I
yeah.
said, I'm a hater of the shoulder buttons,
Shoulder buttons.
and so I swap my shoulder buttons to the paddles down here, so I never have to change the like I can just hold my controller like this for hours. I know I don't have to move my fucking fingers back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
That and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I'm already getting arthritis, so that helps. you know, like
I'm usually scared to use those because I've used those once before. You let me use them.
yeah,
But I usually am very scared to use them because I'm scared I'm gonna break them.
it's
Because
ironic because they're
when I
made of
get
metal. The chassis are made of metal.
yeah, yeah, like it because like I'm a controller twister. At least I
Fair
used to
enough.
be a controller twister. So like when I like really get into it, it's like
Right. Fair enough.
um, yeah, that's
Um,
why I have a wheel now.
yeah,
Um,
fair enough. I think I want to move to emulation if that's cool with you, and
oh
then
sweet.
end it
I was
there.
gonna say.
Does that sound good?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that seems like a pretty good move. I mean, considering like I've used controllers mostly for emulators very specifically.
Right.
Um, like
Th-
I'll like be playing a Game Boy Advance game using a DS4.
Right. That's what I use my Elite Series 1 for now because the left D-pad button is broken. So like I just use it for
Okay.
emulators now. Cuz like you rarely have to
Okay.
use the D-pad on older games for like very important things. And it's not even like
Yeah.
broken. It's just one of those things where I have to hit it twice for it to actually work,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah. No.
anyways, I'm
But
not super familiar with emulation in terms of like emulating with home consoles. How far back that goes? Because I know we didn't start really homebrewing and breaking consoles till like PS1, PS2, GameCube era, like where it became super popular.
PS2,
Yeah,
PS2, more or less.
that's
It
what I
was,
thought.
because it was either that or launch missiles with the PS2.
Right,
I mean,
the nuclear codes
just yeah, it's
getting
blow up my
getting hacked.
neighborhood with a PS2.
The
um,
Department of Defense hacked by a PS2.
the fat one.
The fat boy.
Um,
That's why they called it the fat boy.
exactly. It's, um, but the yeah, the PS2 was like one of the first things I think that people really started like hacking with.
Right.
Um, just because it had like it had like computer elements to it.
Right. That was the first time that kind of there was a more. They weren't just designing parts. They were like, these parts that are already made are pretty good. We can just use these ones instead
Yeah.
of spending hundreds of dollars to design our own.
Yeah, like and I think from like there, from like the PS2, I don't know if you can hack a PS1, but I know this is kind
I'm
of not
not
much
sure.
point to do that.
You can hack. You
As
can
far
hack the PS1 Classic. You can hack the shit out of that thing.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I know you can hack the PS2. I believe you can hack the GameCube.
I think so.
Um, you can hack. There's a lot of consoles you can hack, but like
Yeah.
the fact that you're able to like take those consoles and anything, you can load multiple games from years ago that were like on consoles on to like just load all of these games just at will
Mm-hmm.
on any of the newer consoles, or at least a newer console. Um, it's pretty surreal to like think about because
Right.
like you're basically just taking the little bit of memory and just like loading it into something that can handle it. Like, because most people think to do that, like they can do that with a computer. You can like emulate another system
Yeah.
on a computer. And that just seems like, yeah, no, like of course you can because they're all computers. But you
Right.
think about it, like the console is basically a computer for um, a set hardware for
Right.
set games.
It's only supposed to
Like
do
it
one or two
functions.
basic functions. Yeah.
Yeah, it functions for a certain subset of games. And on that note, it's like you are taking the same idea but doing it with just lower level hardware,
Right.
um, and then just rewiring it essentially.
Pretty
Like
much.
you can do it with a yeah, as I say, as you go along, of course, further and further, you have to work around more and more things. But like usually, like the one thing that my a friend of mine did is that they hacked a Wii,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Which is very
and
common,
they
honestly,
yeah
because so many
yeah
people had them.
like yeah, and it basically they like got a copy of like RetroArch and they have like literally every possible game system loaded
Right.
into the thing. They can load up any game at will and just go.
Yep.
They can also play DVDs out of thing, like ripped DVDs, like
Yeah.
plug in a thumb drive. Yeah, but like you can put all this on a thumb drive
Right.
and just plug it into the system and go,
And it
or you
just
can take it.
works.
Yeah, like it. Whoop.
It's tough
um,
with the thumb drive stuff because they get mad about it because like that's the easiest way to pirate. But then also like if you want to upload like a custom like photo or whatever for your background of your system, like they're not gonna block you from doing that because people get
yeah.
mad about it. So they're just like,
Mhm.
fuck it. They just like gave up to piracy basically. They're like, fuck it, who
Yeah,
cares?
basically, and they may have honestly they may have well just leaned into it.
Yeah,
They
they
could have
kind of did
leaned into it.
basically.
Well, they could have leaned into it a little better. Like,
Sure.
imagine if like Sony or Microsoft or Sega like backed RetroArch.
I forget what
Like, imagine
RetroArch
if they
was.
did that.
It's RetroArch.
RetroArch is yeah, like RetroArch. Yeah.
Arch.
Um,
Arch. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, Arch. Um, if they would have like backed that, then like
Yeah.
they could have like made a good penny on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
but
Okay.
like it's like you can't really stop that now.
Right. Well, the issue
If they
that
would have
they
like
have.
leaned,
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say if they would have leaned into something like this, like, well, we have this site where you can purchase the game for like one
Ah, yeah,
price,
yeah,
and
yeah.
now you have it forever or something.
Yeah, the
You
issue
know,
is
like
that with the way fucking licensing works, just in America. Like, I'll just use America
yeah,
as an
oh
example because the people that are watching most likely are affected by this. Is that
yeah,
licenses for video games, because for some reason the video game industry didn't decide to do everything like every other industry. Like,
hmm
for example, you're familiar with this with the music industry. When an artist signs a record label contract, like record label, like until they sell it, owns the masters of the songs
Yeah.
that the artist records. Like that's not how video games work. Like because there's so many different parts to it, like the code, they own like the IP and like the original code, but they don't own the songs after a certain amount of time. Like the licenses expire because they just didn't buy the songs for some reason. Then they just like, depending on the publisher, like the publisher might be gone because video games aren't like record labels where they just like, at least with record labels, it's constantly like, okay, this label's like defunct. All right, we're going to buy all their shit. Like, video games aren't like that. Like if a company just dies and goes bankrupt, like sometimes it shit just goes to the nether. You know what I mean? It's just gone forever. Like,
oh yeah, of course. Like Sega is a great example of that. Where like, no, you can get Sega games. Like, you can just get Sega.
Yeah,
games.
you can get the old Sega games really easy because Sega doesn't give a fuck, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But like, my thought is like the existing companies, the existing ones that like have made these games that like get kind of mad. Nintendo being a great example.
Nintendo is the worst offender, honestly.
Yeah, they could have like leaned into it and be like, "Hey, if you really want this game, pay for it one time. You have it forever. If you ever need to move it if you want to emulate it, if you want to do anything with it, like if you buy Metroid Prime, for instance,
right?
You buy Metroid Prime one time, it's digital. You can move it anywhere. You can do whatever you want with it, but just pay us the one time." And they would make a killing because people would be willing to just buy the game the one time, and then you have it forever. And then you can put it on your PS2. You can put it on your Wii. You can put it on your PS4 in 10 years. You can put it on your computer and just leave it there, you know.
Right, but here's Nintendo's thing. We only introduce one new IP every generation, maybe two, if you're lucky. How many new IP have they introduced since the Switch started?
I have no idea.
Exactly. They introduced two, technically, on the Wii U that I can recall off the top of my head. Splatoon and Bayonetta. Those are the two I can recall. But like typically Nintendo's thing is we're just going to keep reselling you the same games you've been buying for 30 years because fuck you, first of all.
Exactly.
Second of all, we're just going to keep making iterations of the same game over and over again. That's more or less what they do at this point. Yeah. They just make iterations of the same game over and over again, and then they resell you the same games that you bought like 30 fucking times. Like, it's absurd. At least with the Switch Online, you get the NES and the SNES library. Everything that works, that they could get to work, that they like put in that collection, you just get, which is nice.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of like a BIOS thing.
Basically, because Switch OS basically runs on a version of Android. Okay. Like more or less. Okay. And it's the same thing. It runs a Switch emulator. The only system currently that doesn't run emulators is the PS5. Did you know that? The PS4 has a PS2 emulator.
What?
Basically, the PS2 games, they're emulated, and they have to, because Sony's a pain in the ass, and they keep changing their design philosophy so much. The PS4 cannot emulate anything. It can't do anything. And
the PS5?
It could emulate technically the PS2.
The PS5 or the PS4?
PS4.
Okay.
PS4 and PS5, both.
Okay.
And technically, the PS3 couldn't emulate either. The only reason the PS3 was backwards compatible was because they put the PS2 hardware inside of the PS3.
Okay. Alrighty.
And the vice versa with the PS2, it was able to not emulate. It was hardware emulation. Like it literally just had the same hardware parts, more or less.
Yeah.
Inside of it, so it could run PS1 games. The reason why the PS3 is so incompatible with emulation is because it's built on basically a whole different design philosophy. Like, it's
weird.
It's like you did an experiment in Kelvin, and then they tried to ask you how much ice melts in Celsius. Yeah. But like the birthday cake is frozen. Like you get like it makes no fucking sense basically, right? Like it worked somehow, but like it barely fucking worked. Like Bethesda couldn't even get Skyrim to fucking work on it for like a year. Yeah. You know? And Skyrim was still a buggy fucking broken mess on the 360, you know?
God.
Anyway, so the PS3 can't be emulated. We still can't emulate the PS3. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
We can't emulate the PS3 because it's designed in such a weird fucking way that nobody knows how to fucking emulate it on a computer. That's why Sony can't have backwards compatibility with the PS3 because nobody can figure this shit out.
I'm like, that explains a lot because like you'll see, I'll search up games on the PS4 on the PS Store, the PSN store, that are PS3 games, but it'll never be available.
Yeah, you can't download them. You have to like stream them on PS Now, basically.
Or you have to have the hardware.
Yeah.
You have to have the actual game itself, like it's disc only. And I'm like, well, fuck.
It's rare. The only one I can recall off the top of my head is the PS3 version of Black Flag. Black Flag had an upgrade option where if you put the PS3 disc in the PS4, it just downloaded the PS4 version, basically.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say because I tried to do that with Dirt. I tried to download Dirt.
The original
3.
Dirt. Oh, Dirt 3. Okay.
No, Dirt 3. I was like, well, I have it on my computer, and then I thought about it. I was like, wait, that's the Xbox version.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, more or
I
less.
can't do this, can it?
Yeah, the PS3 is fucked. It's fucked on emulation. It's fucked on everything, more or less. The PS4 can't emulate anything but the PS2, but more or less they're ports. It's more like they ported it versus they emulated it. The PS5 can't emulate anything, as far as I'm aware.
I figure not.
It doesn't even emulate the PS4 games. It just kind of sometimes works. Like, there's certain PS4 games that just have performance issues because the PS5 architecture and the PS4 architecture are so different. Like, sometimes they just don't run right. Because it's Sony. So, of course, they don't.
That's so weird. That's actually really, really weird.
At least Nintendo's just like, fuck you, none of your shit works anymore. Buy it again. Sony's like, maybe it'll work. If not, I don't know. Fuck you, I guess. Like, and Microsoft's like, please.
We tried.
Please buy our console. You can play Xbox One, Series X, Xbox 360, and Xbox games on it. Please.
I think.
Also, you can emulate everything else.
I think that was the greatest moment when I had. I think that was the greatest moment when I had the Xbox 360. I still have it. It's at my bandmate's house. But I loved that I could play Jet Grind Radio. I downloaded that before my account died.
Nice.
I downloaded. I forgot my password. That got hacked. But still have the game though. The games, all of them. But I got Jet Grind Radio, and I was like, oh my god, Dreamcast games. Like I never got to play it on Dreamcast. I played it on the original Xbox.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But like, yeah, it was like I have it on the 360, and I'm like, yeah.
The 360 could hardware run, I think, Xbox games. I think it's been a while.
I think so too. Yeah.
The Xbox One was incompatible with the 360. I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Xbox One backwards compatibility, but I can quickly run through it if you want.
I remembered hearing about it, but I don't know exactly what happened.
All right, but for anybody who's watching that hasn't seen it yet, this is our most popular video. I did a whole video on Xbox called How Phil Spencer Saved the Xbox One, right? And in it, I detail everything he did with the Xbox One, but the short version is the biggest component of what helped, or the biggest thing Phil Spencer did in terms of like actual work that the team had to do was get backwards compatibility to work on the Xbox One because it's incompatible with 360 hardware. So they actually had to create an emulator for it. Like the Xbox One and the Series X just run 360 emulators. Like that's actually how they do backwards compatibility.
Oh god, that's actually hilarious.
It is hilarious. It was even more hilarious because the project was started originally because people bitched about the Xbox One not having backwards compatibility, and then whoever was the Phil Spencer's the current one,
Whoever was running
Maddox.
it
I
at
don't
the time.
remember his fucking name. He's an asshole.
Yeah.
But he canceled the
Yeah.
project basically halfway, like not even halfway through.
Oh.
Like they started it and he was like, who gives a shit? Fuck that. Like, and Phil Spencer was like, no, we need to
Try
get this shit to
harder.
work. We need to get this
Yeah.
shit to work, basically. So the
Yeah.
Series X actually does run an emulator, like it has to run an emulator, and the Xbox One as well. But they weren't designed to do that. They just like figured it
Yeah.
out. It's really, really impressive. And we have the video on the YouTube channel. It's crazy popular, actually. I was surprised. It's our only video that's like we have 2 videos over 1,000 views, and that one has like 3,000 to 4,000, I think now.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's super popular. It sounds like our food is probably here. So I was trying to
Okay.
get to the end to wrap it up.
Well, we
Anything
got to the last
else
bit, emulation, so
you want to say
we
before I
got to the
let you
last
go?
bit, so. I was gonna shill myself, of
Yeah,
course, a
go,
little
show.
bit, but I am Jake, Jake Unity, as it sounds, Jake Unity, as it sounds, on Instagram, uh, Twitch, Twitter, pretty much are like the main ones I'm on. At least if you ever want to find me, I play racing games from Dirt 2.0, well, all the Dirt games really that I can muster. But
Fair enough.
to F1, to F1, F1 games pretty much. Right now I'm on 2014.
Nice.
That's the one I've been streaming lately. Um, in Monaco currently, which is fun. Um, and I also play GT Sport every now and again when the tracks don't suck.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough, my
at
friend.
least the ones in the lobbies. But yeah, no, I stream every now and again. I'm like here and there. You know, follow me. I don't have enough people watching to really warrant a schedule, so I do it when I feel like doing it.
Fair enough. We don't either. I just do it
uh,
anyways because I hate
fair,
myself. So
fair,
I make myself follow a schedule.
Look, I have to.
I have to do it, or I
But,
will literally never stream again.
Exactly. But I do not currently have a camera, but I do want to get one at some point. But so it's mostly just voice streams
Sure.
and me crashing into shit for a solid hour.
Do you need a system
But
camera, or you need a webcam camera?
system cameras.
Gotcha.
Because my computer is a potato.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I more or less just like streaming every now and again here and there, just my
Okay.
practices and then my races. So
Sounds good.
yeah, no, check me out when you can, if you wanna.
That'd be nice. It'd be
Yeah.
a real cool thing if you did.
Yeah.
And it'd
Be
be
a
real
lot
cool if you were
cooler if
nice
you
to
did.
him. You don't even gotta go in chat. Our chat is silent. We have the silent chat. All right. People just
Usually
come in
just
here
me
and chill.
obnoxious.
That's true. It's just you or Lemons most of the time.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
fine.
And I'm just Lemons is sweet. I'm incredibly obnoxious.
He's the meme guy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
All right,
yeah,
my friend.
it's great talking to you as always.
Of course.
Tell the wife I said hi.
Of course.
And yeah, y'all have a good dinner.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you another time, my friend. And
yeah, thanks for having me on.
I will see you all tomorrow. Once I decide which game we're gonna play. Okay.
All right.
All right. Bye bye. Stream.